A Hunter in Teyvat, Chapter 66, Fan Fiction, by Azazyel. Mondstadt. Back in the land of winds and dandelions, within the heart of the defenders of the land's fortress within the city of Mondstadt a meeting was being held that was filled with a silent tension. So, what were you thinking when you turned the Honorary Knights of Mondstadt and Eula Lawrence a captain in good standing away at the gate? Jean demanded at the duo of knights that were standing contritely in front of her as several other high-ranking members of the Knights of Favonius watched the proceedings with cool expressions. The two knights that turned away Jake and his party, no longer clad in armor, looked at one another for a moment as they remained silent before one of them broke the stare off Jean was stabbing into them silently with her judging eyes. We were ordered to keep all unauthorized personnel outside of Mondstadt while Miss Lisa's barrier kept people from entering or exiting Mondstadt. The man spoke as Jean's eye twitched at the stupidity of the man spoke. So, let me get this straight. You blocked off the honorary knights, which we made sure to mention were allowed into the city due to Eula being a member of the Lawrence clan, which were under investigation, correct? Jean asked to the silent nods of the knights, and then Jean's desk shattered as she slammed a wind-coated fist through it. You be damned fools. You know damned well that the Lawrence clan doesn't even have any holdings within the city of Mondstadt itself. What did you think would happen when people with a brain realized that Mondstadt's investigation was just a ploy to get all factory and foreign assets out of the city? Jean stood up angrily from her shattered desk, and even across the wreckage of her slip of control, she all but towered over the knights. I told you the front guards explicitly that Jake and his party, which included Eula Lawrence, was to be allowed within the city. Now I am getting letters from the Tianquan of Liyue asking for their damned citizenship papers so that they can become actual citizens of Liyue. Jean stomped across the room towards the two knights, who stiffened into a military pose, and their eyes stared ahead as Jean held a finger to the leader's chest. What the hell can you do when a Mitachurl is running you down? What can you do when a squad of ruin guards bombard your position with missiles or even ruin hunters fly over you doing the same? Nothing. You absolute fools not only destroyed Mondstadt's reputation by making it look like we exiled our heroes after they all but dealt with storm terror, but by all definitions, you harmed the nation's national security by throwing aside a deterrent for war with other nations in Eula Lawrence. Jean declared damn near shouting. Jean, just sentence them, and let's move on. Shouting at idiots who wanted to hurt Eula gets us nowhere. Kia, the cavalry captain, said, cutting over Jean, who was obviously going to go on another tirade. Can I suggest that they be in charge of cleaning out the sewers for the next year? Lisa suggested sadistically, and everyone grimaced at the thought as Mondstadt's sewers not only were of course filthy due to being sewers, but it was also dangerous due to water and ice slime spawning in the cool, dark waterways. Fine, I resign from the Knights of Favonius. The younger man said angrily as his face turned green at the thought of working in the sewers. The Knights of Favonius's name have gone into the dirt since the real Grandmaster went on his expedition, and he would be appalled to see the chaos and terrible management taking place here. The man practically shouted as he aired his grievances. A dragon and monsters attacking the very city and the countryside several times. Relying on foreigners to help save our own damned god in the heart of our city when another nation attacks us. And worst of all, when the traitor Lawrence clan were found of repeated sabotage, what happened to them? They were just banished so they could get revenge or attack us again, and they will because being evil is all they know. The man shouted and was clearly going to continue, but with a loud thunking noise, he was knocked out as Lisa bashed him over the head with a book that was thicker than a cinder block. The other disgraced knight chewed on his cheek as he looked at the man that was clearly knocked out cold, and at Jean's dull stare, he spoke at a far more moderate voice. I am also quitting the Knights of Favonius. What I did to Eula was wrong. But I hate her for what her clan did to Mondstadt. My grandfather and brother died to factory blades during their invasion to kill Lord Barbados, and I don't care if she had nothing to do with it. I will not accept working with her, and seeing as she is such an important, national asset, I will go work with my father in his trading company. The man said clearly with steel in his tone. Then get out, Dilek said from where he was leaning against one of the railings in front of the bookcases that lined Jean's office. You have steel in your heart, but you are directing your hate at the wrong person. At Dylik's dismissal, the demoted knight looked back to Jean, who bit her lip before sharply nodded with the man that was no longer a Knight of Favonius bowing to Jean. Acting Grandmaster Jean, granted what my compatriot has said was extreme and unfair to your management abilities. But I wish you and the Knights of Favonius all the best in protecting Mondstadt. Goodbye. The man said as he respectfully handed over the badge that signified his status as a true Knight of Favonius to Jean. Then the man left on his 2 feet while the already knocked-out man was dragged out for medical attention by a couple of the other knights with some medical training. Jean just slumped back into her chair as Amber moved from her own chair. So, Eula and the honorary knights are in Liyue. Why didn't you tell me, Jean? Amber demanded, and Jean grimaced. Because it's political now. Liyue wants to protect their new golden geese that could smack around a harbinger using both their vision and delusion at the same time. And don't tell me you won't just fly and run to Liyue and cause a huge scene to bring them back. Jean accused Amber, whose face twitched at Jean hitting the nail on the head. I mean, with the rite of dissension coming up soon. It wouldn't be too weird for me to come visit Liyue. Amber muttered mutinously, but Jean just rolled her eyes. Yes, it will be. As our spies within Liyue's Adventurers Guild have already heard about Jake's party making waves in Liyue's land, with their first mission being to deal with a primal Geovishap, a lesser earth dragon that could give Dvalin some trouble. Jean just sighed, brushing her hands over her face at this latest stress. Well, at least things have calmed down, Kia said to lighten the mood, and all the girls, plus Dylik, nodded with the dour man sighing. Seems like the meeting is over. I agree that Eula's matter is troublesome, but Jake and those girls can take care of themselves. But either way, I will check on them as I have a shipment of wine going to Liyue in a couple of days for them to start stocking up for the rite of dissension. Dylik announced as he exited the room, and everyone shared a look as an unspoken message was shared. He does care and miss them. Everyone thought as they watched Dylik leave. Well, it's a pity about the cuties, Lisa spoke out as she stretched from her leaning perch on one of the railings after she put away the book she used to club the man over his head. But life continues on, and if Lord Barbados isn't too worried, then neither should we, as I am sure Eula and those cuties will be back at some point. Lisa finished while she strode out of the meeting room with a sway to her waist as she left to take back over her duties as Queen of the Library.